Who's in, who's out? We're deciding today. We get to decide, which is exciting. But I mean, the teams will decide on the ice. But we got 5 games left in the season, 6 for some teams, but very rarely. And we are coming down to the wire here. This is the most exciting that the NHL playoff race has been in a long time. I feel like every year it's pretty rare for this to happen. Every year we already know the matchups for the most part with like a month left in the season.
Except for when Torts is pulling his goal.
I was just thinking about it.
Except for that. That was like the craziest that it's kind of ever been. Yeah. But this year, like everything is up in the air still, save from like Carolina clinching the Metro and the Avs clinching the Central. Everything else, division races, wild card races. There are the most teams that I can remember since this kind of playoff format began still in contention with 5-6 games left. So what we're going to do today is run through every team that still has a chance to make a wild card spot. And in the East, I guess we can include Philly in this conversation because they've got 90 points.
Yeah, like that third place in the
Metro is still up for grabs. We have whiteboards here. So we're going to bring up a team. We're going to write in or out on our whiteboards, and then we'll get into a little bit of a debate whether we agree. Some teams I'm sure will be unanimous on, and we can spend some time talking about those teams as well. But we're hoping for some debate here, and eventually we'll round out who we think is going to be in the playoffs. We're not doing like a full matchup prediction preview yet. It's more just like getting a sense of, with 5-6 games left, who we actually think is going to be in the playoffs. We're going to start.
I was going to say too, because we could have done this a little closer to the end of the season, but I feel like right now, when there's some time for this video to breathe a little, I feel like this is the right time to do this kind of video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, next week might feel too late, honestly.
A lot of these teams play each other too. Like there's so many good matchups. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every night is just must watch in the NHL right now. So.
Yeah.
And that's been a far cry from what it's been in recent years, where it feels boring to end the season because you already know who's playing who. So it's exciting. We're excited about it. We're going to start in the Western Conference because I think the East is much more enticing, intriguing. The teams are better, obviously, and the West is what McDavid said, a pillow fight a little bit.
A pillow fight, yeah.
But it has been exciting in recent days, and so the Kraken are the first team we want to just touch on because we're not going to go in and out for them. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 1-7-2 in their last 10, and they are officially, with the loss to Winnipeg last night, 8 points back of the LA Kings. So it feels like with 6 games left for them, this is kind of, you have to win every single game and get a lot of help. They are firmly out, though, at this point.
It's over.
It's over. No, I don't even.
It's over.
It's
over.
It's done.
Poor guys.
It's cooked.
Look, and I know we had touched on it. Maybe it's better for this to happen now with the Kraken.
For sure.
Right? Now they can officially start tanking a little bit. I mean, how far are they off the bottom of the league right now? They're probably in the bottom, 7? Which just goes to show how close the playoffs have been this year.
Yeah.
Like the Jets have been close to the bottom of the league for most of the year, and they're still right in the thick of the playoff hunt.
For Leafs fans, it's pretty important how bad the Kraken have been because they're right now, the Kraken are a bottom 5 team tied with the Rangers on points with 75. So Leafs fans are going to be paying attention to this Kraken team, I feel like, quite a bit down the stretch as far as what ends up happening with that pick that the Bruins have now that is Boston's if it's not a top 5 pick. So a lot on the line for the Bruins and Leafs in that little bit of business. But let's start with the St. Louis Blues, okay? 1-2 in a row. They've been one of the hottest teams in the league. Currently sit 5 points back of LA, but they do have that extra game. So 6 games left for the Blues this season. In or out for the St. Louis Blues?
You guys ready to flip?
All right, 3, 2, 1. We all have outs for the St. Louis Blues. Okay, who wants to start with why this is pretty unanimous for the St. Louis Blues being out?
I'll start with the Blues, and I think, if anything, their season's almost gone in reverse order from what maybe we've expected because they were so good to end the season. You expected them to pick up right where they went off or right where they kind of finished last year. And they didn't. They were one of the worst teams in the league for a very long time. Goaltending was a complete mess.
They kind of did this last year, though, didn't they? They got hot towards
They got hot.
They did.
And this year just feels like it's too little too late for them. the last 15 or so games, they've been very strong, really since the trade deadline, which is also puzzling because they sold off their captain.
Yep.
They tried to trade Colton Parayko. Robert Thomas was in the trade talks. Those are all the ingredients of the last 20 games being a complete mess, and they haven't. They've actually looked really good, but it's just at this point, it's too little too late. This is a team that I think drastically underachieved this year. They should have been better, especially with how weak the West is. They should have been a lock for the playoffs. But at least you're now finishing the season with some positive signs to maybe take into next year. It feels like they're going to keep Parayko. Feels like, I think at this point, they'll keep Robert Thomas. Binnington's a question mark.
How about Hofer?
But Hofer's been he's shown that he can be a guy there. Yeah. So that's great.
And I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Binnington? They've both actually been really good down the stretch recently. And I just think with St. Louis, I agree. It's just the Magic's running out. It's too little too late. I think it's just that's a big gap to overcome, but I would not feel bad if I'm a Blues fan. I'd feel pretty good about the direction that the team's going in. I feel like, they got good return for a veteran player. They probably got better return they thought they were going to get from him in Shen. And they have a good young core to build around. They've got some good prospects on that team. I think with good goaltending, I think St. Louis is going to be good. I think they're heading in the right direction.
Just counting it up, in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 starts, Hofer's only lost once in regulation. And this Blues team has only lost twice in regulation in their last 16 games. So they've won 11 of those. They are pushing beyond belief, but the schedule is a little tough. They've got 4 playoff opponents in their last 6 games and 1 game against the Jets as well. So that's like a massive swing game for both of those teams, but they've got the Avs today, and we're recording this on a Tuesday, and they also end the season with the Wild, Penguins, and Mammoth. So not an easy schedule for them as far as trying to project where some of those points are going to come from, and they have 5 points of ground to make up right now, but pretty unanimous. I think, like you guys said, though, if goaltending solidifies, or if this kind of late season pushed us anything, it's that they have a number 1 goalie next year, hopefully, and maybe a really good duo at that if Binnington's play can kind of bounce back. But Hofer has just been the story for them, and it's good to see because he was kind of a highly touted prospect as well.
Good Manitoba boy.
Winnipeg Jets are next. Yeah. 5 games left for the Jets. They've won 2 in a row. They are 3 points back of the playoffs. 80 points with 5 games to go are the Winnipeg Jets. In or out?
Ready to flip?
No, give me a second here.
Just 1 sec.
Oh, man.
This is a tough one. I think this one is going to give the most debate.
I see some delusion at this table. Let's flip them around.
2, 1.
Wow, the most debate. I wonder why.
I wonder why. Okay, so you're the one that thinks the Jets are going to make it. And, I mean, it's not just homerism at this point, though.
It's not. I mean, the Jets have been playing actually, since January, have been playing some really good hockey.
They really have.
And this is an experienced group. They've guys that have been to the playoffs so many years in a row. You know what, maybe I'm being a little optimistic. And at the same time, we don't have crystal balls in front of us. Anything can happen. And sure, I'm a Jets fan, but I just like the way that this team's playing. Rosine has been great. I mean, Taves was great last night. I think Brad Lambert has really picked it up. It just feels like things are kind of coming together. The loss to Dallas was not great, but they've won 2 in a row now, and I just think that the Jets are making a strong push here. And why not Winnipeg? I don't know. I just think that they have some critical games, guys. The Jets play the Sharks, I'm pretty sure, last game of the season. I mean, that could literally determine who goes to the playoffs.
They got the Jets next, which is massive. They've got the Flyers, who are another team we're going to talk about. They got the Golden Knights, the Mammoth, and the Sharks. So not an easy schedule by any means. All 5 of these teams have something to play for.
The Blues, they play next.
Yes, the Blues they play next. But all 5 of these teams have something to play for. And sneakily, Utah is still not kind of secure in that first wild card spot. If they have any missteps, the Kings are 3 points back, so they're right there. So Utah, it's not like they are.
But Utah's also. It's crazy to think that they're right there with all those Pacific Division teams. Exactly, they have as many points as them. So it's bizarre. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just wishful thinking. I just think the Jets are looking good. Can we also talk about Mark Scheifele for a moment? At the time of filming this, I think 4 players have more points in the league than Mark Scheifele now. He's tied for 5th in the league in points.
That's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. And it's crazy to think that he was not on this team. Crazy.
It is crazy to think that.
And yeah, like he's gonna crack 100 points, which is incredible. Kyle Connor's been playing well lately. I think just like if they can get good goaltending from Hellebuck down the stretch, I don't see why this team can't get in. I get it though. If you guys say no, I mean there are obviously other teams in the West that could make more of a case, especially ones that are ahead of them in the standings currently. But give me the Jets. Let's go.
This one was the hardest because I trust the Jets more because of their talent, like than any other team that's ahead of them. Like Hellebuck and net, Scheifele, Connor, Morrissey, like that to me is the most talented group. I think I trust their schedule less though. Like I feel like they have a tougher road, and because they're behind 3 points already, that's the only thing that gave me pause. But like outside of that, if I had to pick a team that I'm gonna leave out as one that's like I wouldn't be surprised if they get it, and it's Winnipeg because of Hellebuck, because of Scheifele, because of Connor, because of the talent they have.
Which is crazy to think about. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like before last night, I was wondering what I was gonna say for this. I'm thinking, like,
yeah, because if they lose, you're talking a very different conversation.
Well, you have to at that point. And then I'm thinking, like, like it just hasn't been the Jets' year. But I was like, all right, we're right in it here. So let's see what happens.
I think what could benefit a team like this is their playoffs have already started in the sense that every single game is a must win, and a team like Winnipeg's that's experienced and has a lot of talent, especially I feel like they're top heavy. I think that's a fair almost criticism to say about them. Mm-hmm.
They've been getting the depth lately. They've been getting the depth lately.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think you brought up a great point, Luca, in the sense that their schedule is very tough. I think that final game against the Sharks could very well be a win and you're in scenario. Mm-hmm. The fact that they play St. Louis next, I think is tough. I'd rather play a team like Dallas. I think St. Louis was a lot tougher than Dallas last season in the playoffs for the Jets.
You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting too? St. Louis is a very tough opponent.
You like that I brought that up, eh?
Hey, man, I'm just saying, if the Blues are hot, like if this what happens last year, Blues get hot going into the playoffs, they'll be a tough team. But anyways, I don't know. I just think that like so many teams are already playing playoff hockey, and one of these teams that we're talking about today is going to get hot, and they're going to be the one to prevail and make the playoffs. Then you're going to be like, that team could be dangerous in the playoffs.
Why not?
Why not the Kraken?
There are a lot of reasons why not the Kraken. Let's keep going here with the San Jose Sharks. They have 6 games remaining. They are 2 points back of the Kings for the final wild card spot. 5-4-1 in their last 10, so they're kind of just scraping along here. Where do we have the San Jose Sharks? And really, like, we've only got one team. Like that's kind of it. We're just picking our one wild card team in the West. So is it the Sharks? I'm curious to see. All right, 3,
ready?
2, 1. As the Yager jersey falls.
The Yager jersey is.
The Yager jersey was like, I'm fence sitting with Jesse.
Yeah.
And then
what did you write?
He wrote maybe.
You just picked the Jets are in.
Incomplete.
This was the team that I was going to say, if not the Jets, then it would be the Sharks. And the reason why is because, like, I just think Macklin Celebrini is an absolute horse. And I feel like if there's a player that's going to individually will one of these bubble teams into the playoffs, I think it's him. I think he's a great story. I think the Sharks are kind of destined for it, if not the Jets, and that's just my take. But I'm going Jets still.
So let's start with the reasons why they will get in from your perspective. You're saying it was pretty emphatic.
I think Jesse said it best right there. First of all, how valuable is this experience for a young team like San Jose to play these meaningful games in April and to have a chance to, I'll call it ahead of schedule. And I think the season that Macklin Celebrini's had, every time you hear the stat of the gap between him and the second place player in terms of points on the San Jose Sharks, it continues to get more impressive because the gap continues to grow. This is a legit Hart candidate for me. He's been so impressive as a teenager to do this. And I just think, one, I looked at them in Winnipeg as the 2 most legit candidates. We'll talk about Nashville and LA in a second. But I do believe that those are the 2 best teams that are fighting. And I'm siding with San Jose in terms of their schedule. I think it's a little bit more favorable.
Yeah. They play the Blackhawks.
And they play each other.
They play the Blackhawks again, and I think they play the Canucks. And they're playing a Ducks team, which the Ducks have kind of been, like, they got to get their act together.
Yeah.
Like, without Cutter, I think they're, what are they, 0-3 without Cutter now? I think they've lost 3 in a row. So
they do have the Blackhawks and Canucks, but I think one thing with this team is they have not been good on the road this year. They've been a lot better at home, and 4 of their final 6 games are on the road against some pretty tough opponents. So that gives me a little pause as far as why I had them out. I just think that discrepancy for a young team to not, like, clearly they have feasted on home ice, and that's been so valuable for them. So to play 4 of these final 6 on the road in Anaheim, in Nashville, in Chicago, and then ending the season in Winnipeg, I think is going to be a little too much for them. And it does scare me too that, like, if Celebrini is not doing anything one night and has an off night, they lose most of the time. Like, I'll read some of the recent game logs for Celebrini specifically, because they play Edmonton, he doesn't get a point, they lose. They play Buffalo, he doesn't get a point, they lose. He has 1 assist against Philly, they lose. Doesn't get a point against Nashville, they lose. Doesn't get a point against St. Louis, they lose. Has a goal and an assist, they beat Columbus. Has 2 goals and an assist, they beat St. Louis. 4 points against Anaheim, they win.
The Anaheim game was special.
It was special. So he can't afford to have any bad games, and he hasn't had many bad games, and he's the number 1 threat, and every team is game planning for him. But that's what kind of pushes them out of this playoff picture for me, is their reliance on him might be a little too much for them to overcome at this point.
Did you guys see that goal yesterday that Will Smith scored? It was beautiful. Celebrini to Colin Graf. Graf made like a beautiful behind the
He's been
back.
amazing.
He's been awesome.
He's been such a fun player to watch.
The thing I was thinking about the San Jose team too is, like, how are they going to afford all these guys?
They'll make it work.
No, I'm sure they'll make it work, but they're going to have, like, a lot of good players down the road that they're going to have to pay. And the cap's going up, obviously, but they've got a lot of good young talent that's producing really well.
Next team we're going to talk about here. So for Puck, every other team for him is out. So
I guess Jesse's kind of in that boat too. I'm curious to see who you got in. I'll admit it. There is a little bit of wishful thinking in there, and I think there's something that we can all gain as hockey fans to watch Celebrini go into Winnipeg the final day of the season and the final game for San Jose and be like, this is a winner in.
Not gonna happen.
This is the drama.
Not in that.
Would Winnipeg do a whiteout for a regular season game if it was like?
I bet they would.
They should.
I bet they would.
Maybe I'll be there.
Maybe.
Okay, so the last 2 teams are Nashville and the Kings. So you guys have them out, obviously.
I'll write down out.
Should I just reveal mine?
If you say the LA Kings are about to make the playoffs, I've written out. Which team were you going to talk about first?
Well, we're going to talk about Nashville.
Okay.
And, I guess the only reveal is for me, really. But 3, 2, 1. I've got the Predators out. So I think we all don't believe in this Predators team, although...
You know what?
They had like a decent season.
I almost put the Predators in here. I mean, I said about a bunch of teams. I think the thing that I would say that the Predators have in their favor is they've got some good vet players on their team who have been to the playoffs so many times, and they've been in these situations, and they've been. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone really expected the Preds to even be in this hunt at this point of the season.
On December 1st, they were last in the conference.
Yeah, I think
then they sold at the deadline.
Definitely exceeded expectations.
Oh my God, yeah.
On their season, which you can't say that about any of these other teams that are kind of battling for a wild card spot right now.
Stamkos and Forsberg both almost have 40 goals. I'm pretty sure. O'Reilly's been playing great. Yossi's been playing really well. Evangelista's having a good year. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if San Jose gone to the playoffs. I was reluctant to Nashville. Sorry. Who did I say?
San Jose.
Sorry.
Which you also wouldn't be surprised by. No. Hence the maybe.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's so close. It's kind of just a coin flip. But
and this stretch for the Preds has been really interesting because they lose to the Kings in the shootout on April 2nd. Then they beat the Sharks, another team they're battling with. They lose to the Kings last night in a shootout. But now you've got literal playoff teams for the rest of your schedule, where it's the Ducks twice, the Wild, the Mammoth, and then the Sharks one more time. So it's been playoff hockey for them for a while. I'm very impressed with the turnaround. It does remind me of a Blues-like turnaround where it's like you sold at the deadline. You were never in a position to make a playoff spot in December. We all had you kind of dreaming about Gavin McKenna, and now you're 1 point out of a playoff spot with 5 games to go. Is there any reason that you think the Preds shock the world? Like, is it just as simple as the veteran experience? It's Stamkos, it's Forsberg. They do have a ton of talent. It's not like they don't, and this is a team that has the guys that have been in this position before. Out of all of the teams still kind of battling for this spot, I think them and the Jets are probably most poised and know what these games are like and can lean on that experience.
It would be nice to also
the Kings
see
too.
another playoff run out of a lot of these aging players when a lot of these guys are in a position where you don't know how many chances they'll get at a cup again. Some of them haven't won a cup, some of them have. I don't know. Nashville's an intriguing one because does their success, and I'm going to use the word success even though they may miss the playoffs this season because I think there's a lot of positives to take away. Does that change their outlook on the offseason? Do they look to get younger? Do they look to add to Stamkos, Yossi, Forsberg, O'Reilly and say, yeah, we know that some of these guys are in their late 30s, but we're still going to go all out for another year? I don't know what the answers are in Nashville, and I think they're definitely a team to watch this offseason. Like you said, Jesse, though, it's not even a coin flip. It's more of like a roll of a dice because there's so many teams. It's so hard. I have them out, but they could very well get in.
I think like literally when we're evaluating these teams, that you got to just factor in their remaining schedule. Like, that's just like such a big thing, and I'm sure, obviously we have one team left, and Luca's gonna.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
I've got them in.
No. Spoiler. He's got the Kings. But like, if you look at the Kings' schedule, and not to be too much of a spoiler here, but they play the Preds, Canucks, Oilers, Kraken, Canucks, Flames. That's just an easy schedule. Do I think that the Kings are the best team out of all the remaining teams? No, not really. I don't really think I mean, you know what? I think the Kings. It's weird. Sometimes I feel like they're underwhelming, but I'm like, well, man, they've actually got like Kopitar. They've got Panarin, who's on the team as well. Like they do. The Byfield is a great player. They do have some dogs on their team, but like, I don't know. I feel like the Kings have been so forgettable this season.
I guess we can just segue.
Well, I've got the Kings in. Yeah. I've got the Kings in, and I can start the conversation with that, where it's like the schedule is so favorable for them. Like you're playing 3 of the bottom teams in the Western Conference in your final 5 games. They've been a much better road team this year. Those last 3 games are on the road. Like they haven't been a great home team, which is interesting. But I trust the schedule. I think Byfield's been awesome lately as well for them. He's been really great. He's kind of turned it on in the last 10 games. He's got 7 goals, 9 points. So he's been a big factor for them. And sneakily, like they're kind of one of the better defensive teams at 5-on-5, so I kind of trust them more in these low-scoring games, even if the offensive talent isn't like some of the teams that are chasing them right now. I do trust their team defense quite a bit. I think they've gotten a little unlucky at 5-on-5 as far as like their expected goals for is kind of middle of the league, but they've scored well under that, and they've been one of the best defensive teams in expected goals against. So like I'm basically just taking a bet on the numbers I'm seeing and the fact that talent-wise, they're right around there with some of these teams. Like I think we looked at the Kings every year that they've kind of made this playoff run, and we've looked at them and we're like, this is a really deep roster. Like I think it's been a fabulous season from a guy like Brant Clark, who's going to hit 40 points. That's awesome for him. He's playing more and more every single game. This is probably the year, though, that their offense has been the worst that it's been, where like the gap between Kempe and Byfield at the top and the rest of their team is pretty underwhelming.
They don't have Fiala.
Yes, they don't have Fiala, who's still 3rd on their team in points, and he's only played 58 or 56 games. So like that will not help them in the playoffs for sure. Like whoever they play, I think if it ends up being Colorado at this point, like they're going to be pretty lucky and pretty happy with that matchup. But I just think they've got enough. I think they've got enough there.
They should, man, with that schedule. Like, realistically, it's way easier than all the other teams right now. And
it is.
If they don't get in, I think it's actually kind of a product of, like, and especially since they already occupy that last spot in the West.
They control their own destiny.
They control their own destiny, and like they have the easiest path to get to the playoffs as far as schedule goes. So, and if they don't, then we're looking at the Kings. We're saying this team is just a bunch of frauds.
What's funny too is like
frauds.
What's funny with them is like they also kind of have a weird chance to like make up some ground on Edmonton. Yeah, we're like, they've got one game against the Oilers left. If they win that one, they take 2 points from them. And
are they about to win the Pacific?
Are 3 points back of them with 4 games left. Like, it's pretty insurmountable.
The Kings have not been great. Aren't before.
None of these teams have been great
lately.
lately.
They're 2-5-1, I think, going into their game last night, or over their last 8.
So in their last 10, they're 4-2-4. And the thing with this Kings team is that they have the same number of regulation wins as they do overtime.
And there
losses.
you go.
So
brings me to my grand reveal.
So that's 19 points that they've gotten by just losing in overtime in the shootout, and they've also won another 13 games in extra time. They have less regulation wins than the last place team in the Eastern Conference, the New York Rangers.
There has never been a better case study for the NHL to consider changing the point system in the NHL to 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for an overtime win, and you can still get the 1 point for the overtime loss.
Yep.
I think it's ridiculous that the Kings have won 19 games. Pretty much 1 of every 4 games they're winning in regulation, which is terrible. And they are like in a driver's seat now to a playoff spot and maybe even better than a wild card because of how bad the Pacific Division has been this year. And I say this as someone who has really felt bad for the Kings and felt like they've deserved more in recent years because they've always come up against Edmonton and they've put up good fights against them as well. But they've been a team that, to me, has been deep enough and been skilled enough to go deep in the playoffs. And it just hasn't happened because McDavid and Draisaitl have been scoring 20 points in 7 games. So I have them out, but it's frustrating.
They really
looking
should.
At the numbers.
They really
but
should.
Yeah, I agree with you guys in the sense that they can very well get in.
Well, another thing that we're talking about, like, leadership on teams like the Jets and the Preds. Like, we got to remember the Kings have Anze Kopitar and Drew Doughty, who are just absolute dogs. Stanley Cup winners. It's just Kopitar's last year also. You got to think that team is playing with a little extra jam for him, try to get him to the postseason one last time. So,
and the trade has worked out really nicely. Like, Panarin has been outstanding for them. 23 points in 21 games since being traded to the Kings. Pointless in 4 games since coming over. 5 games since coming over. So that's been really, really big for them with the loss of Kevin Fiala, unfortunately, at the Olympics and him being out for the season. If they had him, I think they're probably sitting maybe in 3rd in the Pacific. Like, I think they're probably challenging with that little extra offense that he brings them. But
they're just like kind of, I think they're just kind of like the least exciting team in terms of like who you'd want to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
for sure,
we'll see.
That totally makes sense. I would agree with that. So to recap, Puck has got the San Jose Sharks in. Jesse is the Winnipeg Jets in the last wildcard spot in the West, and I have the LA Kings. So we each have a different person, or different team rather, which is nice, and it creates some variety. And I think we'll have a lot of different kind of results here in the Eastern Conference, and this is going to be exciting. So Washington in 6th in the wildcard race is only 3 points back of the Sens, who occupy the final wildcard spot. Washington also still has a chance at getting 3rd in the Metro. So there are really 2 spots up for grabs, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams we're going to talk about.
Washington does have one less game, though, right? They only have 4 games left.
So them and the Islanders, out of all 6 teams that we're going to talk about, are the only 2 teams with 4 games remaining. Every other team we're going to talk about has 5 games remaining. And funny enough, the only team on an active winning streak out of all the teams we're going to talk about are the Sens, who have won 1 in a row, and the Flyers, who have won 2 in a row. Every other team, Islanders have lost 4 in a row, the Red Wings have lost 2, the Blue Jackets have lost 3, and the Caps just got waxed by the Rangers.
Yeah,
that was a talk about like one of the worst losses of the season at this point.
Season on the line, worst team in the East.
So the worst team in the East, and that's kind of.
And I think Washington had won like 3 in a row before that, or something.
Yeah, they've been playing pretty damn good hockey to get themselves back in this race. But we're going to start with the Capitals. So 4 games left, as we kind of talked about. 3 points out of the final wildcard spot. 3 points back of the Flyers for 1st in the Metro. I'll write mine down here, and we'll do a quick reveal. 3, 2, 1. Out. Pretty firmly out for everybody.
No surprises.
No surprises here.
Just never felt like their year.
It's too little, too late for them at this point.
Yeah, it's just too late. They are out of a spot by 3 points, and they have less games than all the other teams. So I just think there's too much ground to catch right now, and I don't know. It just hasn't really seemed like the Capitals' year.
This better not be it for Ovi. That's all I'm going to say.
No, they've gotten kind of balanced scoring throughout the lineups. They've had nice seasons from Justin Sorda, from Ryan Leonard has been pretty solid. Protas has been really good again.
Protas' little brother, I'm pretty sure, just got caught up, and Cole Hudson has looked unreal.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
He's
2
gonna be
goals,
amazing.
5 assists, 7 points in his first 10 NHL games, playing 17 minutes a night.
He's going to be amazing.
I think if the Capitals were in better standing, Logan Thompson would probably be kind of a Vezina contender at this point in the season, but because they aren't, he's third in the league in goals saved above expected. I think he's been one of the most consistent parts of their team for sure.
But Washington has been allowing a lot of goals lately. I'm pretty sure they've allowed 29 goals over their last 6 games, which is like
Not great.
That's not great. They've been scoring a lot of goals, and that's why they've been able to win games. But it just seems like they've gone away from what they've been doing all season. And yeah, I don't know.
It's weird, right? Because they kind of sold at the deadline when you move out John Carlson, and they were still competitive and not too far out of a playoff spot, but now you might be seeing some of the effects of that because they've called up some young guys trying to get different looks in the lineup, and they're still in a playoff hunt, which is great. And I think like
the future's so bright in Washington. They've got some great prospects in their system right
that's
now.
a team that I think would be a bounce back candidate next year for sure, where you're talking about teams that maybe just missed the playoffs and you expect to kind of have a better year. The Caps might be kind of firmly entrenched in that, but this year just too little too late. And even though they do have the Leafs on the schedule, they've got 2 against the Penguins and 1 against the Blue Jackets left remaining. So just a lot of room for error with that schedule. Let's move on to the next team. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets. They've lost 3 in a row. They've kind of picked the worst time to go on this streak, but they are 2 points back of the Sens for the final wildcard spot, but they have 2 paths in. So unlike the Red Wings, every other team in this wild card race has 2 paths to make it to the playoffs, and that would be third in the Metros. So Columbus, 3, 2, 1. I don't know. I wrote it too small, but we're all in pretty unanimous agreement that the Blue Jackets are out.
It's a little disappointing.
Is it just the play like as of late that's?
Have they lost 6 in a row? Am I crazy? I think they've lost
3 in a row, but I wonder if that doesn't
before
count.
that they might have lost 6 in a row. They were so poor to start the season. They fire their coach. Rick Bowness comes in, and all of a sudden they are the hottest team in the league. I feel like Buffalo's success almost overshadowed how good Columbus was.
Yes.
For like a good 2-month stretch. It was so impressive. There's so many good young players. I think Jet Greaves has been a great story as well in net, and he looks like he can be their goalie of the future for a long time. Werenski's probably going to win the Norris this year.
Jet Greaves, maybe a future Canada goalie right there.
Yeah. He's been that good.
Awesome for them.
They have a tough schedule coming up. I mean, the Red Wings, Sabres, Habs, Bruins, Caps. I mean,
They
all
clawed
teams
their
with
way
something
back
to play
in
for.
just to lose
grueling.
at the very end when it mattered the most. And like last season, you had this feeling that if the NHL had an 84-game season, Columbus would have gotten in because they just kept winning and winning and winning, and they took Montreal down to the very last day of the season when it looked like that wouldn't be the case. So I'm a little disappointed in Columbus. I wanted to see this team do well. I still think the future's bright, but it's just like, man, you had it. You were right there, and your most important time of the year, you've somehow gone completely cold.
So they have lost 6 in a row, but there's an overtime loss in there that kind of ruins the streak technically. But what a time to kind of lose 6 in a row, but you also, before that stretch, had a loss to the Islanders, which probably when you're looking back at it, a 1-0 loss to the Islanders where you get goalied by Sorokin a little bit is maybe going to kind of do you in. But I think there are a lot of great signs of life for this team where the response to firing your head coach is so good, and you battle all the way back. You've had great seasons, obviously, from Werenski, but Marchenko's been great. Fantilli's been solid, another 20-goal season from him. Charlie Coyle has kind of come out of nowhere and had a 56-point resurgence for them.
Man, Mason Marchment has been has been unreal.
28 points in 34 games, 14 goals.
Yeah, what a great trade that was for Columbus. It feels almost kind of weird that they're not in the playoff spot. Things were going so well for them, but yeah, they've just been losing so many games down the stretch here.
Yeah, you know what? If anything comes out of the season of kind of you've gotten these good seasons from young talent, and if you've found your goalie of the future, like if Jack Greaves is your guy and that is the only thing you take away from this season, I think with the team like Columbus that's had so much uncertainty in net recently in recent years, you'd take that if you're a Blue Jackets fan, even if you don't make the playoffs this year.
I think also, yeah, like you're looking to the future if you don't make the playoffs this year, and I think they got a bank on Caden Lindstrom panning out. He did not have a great season at Michigan State this year, and like if he can just find his game, obviously he's come back from battling some adversity. He's had some injury issues, but if he can find his game and be a good player for Columbus, that'd be a massive addition to their top six.
Man, Werenski playing like 27 minutes a night. He's doing everything he can to get this team into the playoffs, and hopefully for him, if they don't, a Norris season is on the horizon because it would be well deserved. Okay, so I don't know if that's much of a surprise. I feel like we were all going there. The Detroit Red Wings are next, and this one is another 2-point kind of deficit they got to make up. They have lost 2 in a row. They've lost 6 of their last 10 when it's kind of mattered most. The Detroit Red Wings, in or out? And if they are out, I have another follow-up question to this because this is a very fascinating team, to say the least. All right.
You guys remember when I made that whole statement? And
Yeah, no, I do.
Yeah, I got
A little
him.
premature.
I got him, Mel.
A little premature, isn't it?
Sorry.
I wrote sorry, though. See?
Why are you sorry?
I feel bad for the Red Wings. I actually have it written down here. On Christmas Day, I feel like Christmas in the NHL is a big enough sample size to validate something, say this is a real thing. And on Christmas Day, the Red Wings are first place in the Atlantic, which has been one of the most competitive divisions we've seen in some time right now with the race that Buffalo and Montreal and Tampa are currently in. So first place in the Atlantic on Christmas Day. What a great start to the season. They're finally getting it in. The Yzer plan works. Their top line's humming. They've got great depth down the lineup. They finally found a goaltender. Everything's great in Detroit. January 31st, so the next month, the final day. They're second in the Atlantic. Wow, that's still great. What a great position to be in. The Olympic break, they're third in the Atlantic. Okay, so things have kind of teetered off a little bit. Well, the Olympic break ends, and by March 15th, they're wild card 2. All right, you know what? There's only 1 month left in the season, but you're still hanging on there. Sucks to be in wild card 2.
I like where this is going.
When you were first place on Christmas, but we'll take it. We just need to get to the playoffs. The East is... I'll give you some grace. It's been very competitive this year. Today, they're out of a playoff spot, and not only are they out, it just does not look like they're going to be in. They've played their worst hockey the last month of the season. They've gotten worse and worse and worse as the season's gone on.
What was up with that penalty that Kane took in that last game?
That was
tough one.
One of the weirdest plays you'll ever see.
That was not
After
good.
that unbelievable comeback in the third period, it made no sense that he took that penalty, and then they ended up losing because of it.
Yeah. Which also clinched the Habs a playoff spot. But I have run out of things to say about Detroit of why is this year different from last year and the year before that. And it's just at what point do you look at the core? At what point do you look at management? I don't know, but this is a new level of how are we not in the playoffs? I don't understand.
It's tough. It's tough because they've gotten the season from John Gibson that you wouldn't have expected for John Gibson at this age, and based on kind of his recent play. He's always been a solid goalie. I think probably a little underrated in Anaheim and then a little overrated since he's left as far as just the value his name carries, but he's been one of the better goalies in the league. I think down the stretch, if you're looking towards guys where this team doesn't score a lot, they're third fewest goals in the league at even strength, which is definitely tough when you're around teams like the Canucks and the Devils in that regard. So they use their special teams really well. I think they've been better defensively this season, and Gibson kind of helps in that. But if you're looking at 2 guys down the stretch, we've talked about it with this team. It's been the Larkin, DeBrincat, Raymond show. In Larkin's last 11 games, he's got 6 points and 2 goals. In Raymond's last 18 games, he's got 6 goals and 11 points. And then DeBrincat has been carrying with 9 goals and 24 points in the last 18 games. So that trio, when all 3 of them aren't humming, this team struggles to score goals. And that can be kind of tied back to some of the moves that Stevie Y has made and the veteran choices that he's made. And not to say that like Kane and Kopp have not had solid seasons. They have. I don't think that is
I don't think
necessarily
Andrew Kopp
my
can be your
point.
second line center. Like it's just
That's
we're just
more the
not going to
point,
make
right?
a run with that.
And you were expecting a much better season from a guy like Marco Kasper, who was great last year, only 8 goals and 18 points this year.
Yeah.
Finney's been really nice, but again, like 12 goals for a guy that wasn't expected to do a whole lot. So that's kind of where my next question is. If they miss the playoffs, is this the end of the Yzer plan?
I kind of feel like in a weird way. I kind of feel like in a weird way we I mean, who knows? But like, are we going to see a Kevin Adams situation where like things just finally start to click?
I don't think so, because I think Buffalo's team was actually set up and has more talent, and they were younger, and I don't know how to deal with this Stevie Y thing, because I think he's been given obviously a lot of power in the organization, and they've been patient. I think they still believe that it's going to work, and I think it can work, but it's been a long time now since they've really felt like they should be taken seriously come April and May. And I mean, it's been a long time since they've even been playing hockey in May. So I don't know how this is going to play out.
I feel like that roster's also, it's just been like a kind of a slow burn, just like building it. And I know that you can only give someone so many chances and say like your leash is only so long, but at the same time, it's like, they do have some good young players. I do agree. Like, it kind of sucks seeing Kasper just like not really taking things to the next step. And we got to see if Nate Danielson is going to pan out. Like, I don't know. Like a lot kind of hinges on Nate Danielson panning out.
I agree with that.
But I think that like they have some good defensive prospects. They've got Carter Bear, who's looking like he could be a really good player as well.
Yeah. Edmondson has been great, so like that's a good sign for them. But it was also an interesting deadline where like they went all in with like Justin Falk as the big addition, and also bringing in David Perron, and it just felt underwhelming for a team that was trying to make a big impact swing while they were kind of faltering and sputtering. I don't know. It's unfortunate. I'm not here to kind of victory lap on the Red Wings by any means, because
they're still in it.
I said sorry.
They can still make the playoffs. They're 2 points out.
They absolutely still can.
They can, and they can play Columbus tonight. Like, that's a 4-point game. It's massive.
I was going to say, the one thing we didn't talk about with them is their schedule. So their schedule is set up for them to play some important teams ahead of them and some bad teams, where like you have the Panthers on the last day of the season and the Devils, 2 of the worst teams in the East. Yes, you have the Lightning, but you also get the Blue Jackets and the Flyers at home.
Yeah,
like,
you win both those games, like all of a sudden you're in a driver's seat, you're gaining on teams you're competing with. But
exactly.
They just haven't given us confidence. They have not given us confidence.
That loss to Minnesota is massive.
Just huge. Like it just kind of feels like a metaphor of what's going to happen. It's like they crawl back, they're almost there, and then bang, they just blow it at the end.
And this is another team that the Rangers have beaten recently in blowout fashion. That was like, man, that's a missed opportunity.
I think the Rangers have been playing some decent hockey.
They have been, right?
Write another letter.
Really good.
Perreault has been amazing.
Yeah, Perreault's awesome.
It's been good to see. Okay, next one, the New York Islanders. Are we? I mean, if none of us have the Islanders in, then we have our final 2 playoff teams. So this might be anticlimactic, or this might be exactly what we need. And a reminder, they are one of the teams that only has 4 games left. They have lost 4 in a row. They fired Patrick Waugh out of nowhere to hire Pete DeBoer, and they've lost 7 of their last 10 games, all in regulation, so haven't even been able to get any extra points out of it. Are they out or are they in?
Inject this team.
Oh, yeah!
Wow.
Let's go.
Interesting.
Let's go.
Have they played a game yet without DeBoer? Or with DeBoer?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. And you know what? I will say this about the Pete DeBoer thing. I think it's a little different than the Torts move in Vegas, because I think, obviously, it came out right away that the Torts thing is, they're not looking past this year. Like, if he does very well, maybe they'll keep him, but he's coming in now to galvanize these troops. I actually think this DeBoer thing is a long-term play for the Islanders.
Sure.
I think they saw this is a guy that they really like. They saw this is a guy that they feel can get the best out of this core and be the face to.
They don't want him going
lead
anywhere
them.
else.
And I think the style of hockey that he brings is going to be great for this team too. So I like the DeBoer move. That being said, I still think they're going to get a little bump from that, and I think he's going to bring that instant success that we've already seen Tortorella bring to Vegas. And a big reason why I have them in is because I just truly, and spoiler alert, I just truly don't believe in the Philadelphia Flyers. So I have them in. I think they're going to get that third spot in the Metro, which also does reveal my other team that I'm going to write in for. But you know what? The New York Islanders, just give me Matthew Schaefer in the playoffs. Just bring me a Schaefer versus Crosby round one. I think that would be incredible. And it's great to see Matthew Darche get his guy in Pete DeBoer. Didn't really work out with Patrick Roy there, and the fact that, again, all these teams, we can say the same thing. It's like the spot, as good as this has been, this final playoff spot has just been there for the taking, and it's felt like the last 2 weeks, none of these teams have really wanted it. So we'll see now if DeBoer changes things in New York.
I have a question for you guys. What do you think about this move in general? Because I know you're saying like they wanted to get ahead of it. They wanted to hire Pete DeBoer. That's fine. Why not no one expected them to make the playoffs. So why now, I guess, is my thing. Like, why didn't you do this before the season when you saw DeBoer was available? Because
I think Roy's done enough in recent years to, like, I don't think coming into the season it was like, oh, Patrick Roy needs to go. But I just think now.
But why does he need to go now after bringing this team to the verge of a playoff spot? Like, that's the only
they're
interesting
tripping
factor.
over their own feet when they can see the finish line is my thing. Like, a lot of these teams in the East, and we just really criticize Detroit for it big time. Like, just be average, and you are in control in a playoff spot right now. And these teams have not been average. Like, the Islanders have just lost 4 in a row. They've lost a lot of important games against teams that they're battling with. It's just like,
I think the Islanders probably also just look at Pete DeBoer and say, this is an incredible coach. He's going to get scooped up pretty quickly. And our team's lost 4 in a row. It's like everything's kind of coming together here. It's like, all right, let's just get rid of Roy. I don't really think that Roy's going to take us to where we need to be. He's a good coach. He's done some good things this year. But Pete DeBoer is like a great coach. He can take this team to the playoffs. And you know, I'm sure, like, when it's tough to say, like, when you're an NHL GM and you see that your team is this close to making the playoffs, I'm sure it's hard. Maybe it was a bit of a knee jerk or an emotional thing to do at the end of the year to be like, all right, we're going to get this guy. But I don't know, like, it's probably hard not to see what's going on in Vegas right now with Torts and be like, hey.
So
is Petey going to do this for us?
I think it is a little crazy.
This is kind of my worry with this Islanders franchise, though, as a whole, where it's just like, I think they think they're Vegas, but they're not. They're so far away from like what that team actually is.
They got more points than Vegas.
They got more points than Vegas. That's fine. That's fine. They have more points than Vegas. But I think, like, when you look at this team in a vacuum, it's just like, I get it. I think DeBoer is the right move. I don't think that's a bad move necessarily. But I think they've kind of just been fighting this urge to be like, are we a good team? Are we a bad team? I don't know. When I think a lot of the evidence points to them not being one of the best teams in the East yet, and that's fine. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, lean into that.
A little bit of the conversation, like, Torts is coming in, and I think, I mean, I'm not in the room for these discussions, but if I were to imagine the conversations with him and Vegas management is like, we are bringing you in. You need to get the most out of this loaded roster we have right away.
Yes.
And the expectation is that we're going to go deep in the playoffs. That's what we're bringing you in to do. Give this group a boost. Whereas I would imagine Darche is telling DeBoer, like, hey, man,
you're here
we
for
like
a while.
you, but hey, if you miss the playoffs this year, it's fine.
100%.
And part of me is like, if you're in DeBoer's shoes, it's got to be a little weird to enter what I'll call like a project when there's 4 games left in a season. You're trying to build something with these guys.
Yep.
But it's also like, hey, there's no room for error right now at the same time. So I don't like. It's an interesting move. I still like it though.
I like it overall for the future.
I love it. I think also Pete DeBoer, friend of the program.
Friend of the program for sure.
Guess he's not coaching the BarDown team anymore.
No. So I mean, not as a flex, but you remember when we went to Kitchener to see Pete, and we showed him the video because I did that thing with him in Vegas, and we had a good laugh, and I said, Pete, would you come coach the BarDown team? So I tag like he's like yeah, sure. So I was like, how can I reach you? He's just like, I'll just give you my number. I was like, okay. So I was like texting Pete DeBoer a little bit. And I actually texted him like this past week being like, hey, like, when are you in Toronto next? He's like, yeah, I'm still in Vegas. Still enjoying this nice weather in Vegas. And
Lucky guy.
I was like, oh, okay. And then basically we're just talking about maybe making it happen. And then the day that he got hired, I texted him. I was like, well, I guess you're not going to be coaching the BarDown team anytime soon.
Did he get back to you?
Yeah, he just gave me like a punch, like the pound of incredible. He's a beauty, man.
Pete
Big
DeBoer.
fan of his.
Yeah, I think this is a great long-term move. It's also interesting timing-wise because, like, a lot of this roster is kind of set in stone for next year. So he doesn't have a ton of say. And I know he's a great defensive coach. And like, I think if there's one thing the Islanders needed, it's a lot better defensive structure, given that they give up a ton of shots. And Sorokin is last 10 games, he's 3-7 with a sub 900 save percentage.
He's been bad lately.
But this is, I know we talked about it last week where it was like, if Sorokin regresses a little, this team is cooked. And they clearly are cooked right now because he is not playing at the Vezina candidate form because they've had to play him 55 games this season and he's facing 30 shots a night and he's finally starting to crack a little because the defense isn't great in front of him and he can't be Superman every game because goalies just can't be that consistent, that dominant all the time like he's been. So that's the reason I have them out, truthfully. Is like, I just think they're in too far of a hole now. They're not playing great hockey right now. There's this mix of expectations and realities and a new coach trying to come in, and there's going to be growing pains with that as well. Just because Waugh is out doesn't mean immediately their defensive structure is going to get better. So,
well, but in the same breath,
they could get a bump.
Maybe it will get better. Like maybe Pete DeBoer comes in, tightens things up. The Islanders get a spark, and then they maybe make life a little easier for Sorokin, and we'll see.
The tough thing with them is their schedule is not easy either, right? Yeah. Like they've got the Leafs, which is obviously a winnable game, but imagine that's the one they lose, and then they've got the Sens, the Habs, and the Hurricanes. So all 4 of those games remaining are not easy games, and that Sens game might be the difference between them getting in and out. And you mentioned the Philly game. They just lost to Philly 4-1, and that seems like kind of a pivotal loss when we're going to look back at the standings here.
Man, that Porter Martone goal that he scored against Boston, oh my goodness, that was unbelievable.
Okay, so we don't have to write anything down for the Sens because we have them in. Like, all 3 of us have them in.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually believe in the Sens, and I think
that's the team I believe in most.
Their goaltending's gotten better as of late, and I think we've seen that, and their ability to win these crucial games. I think I trust them more than any of the other teams.
So plus 20 goal differential.
Yeah.
Which is way higher than the other teams in that range.
Oh, big time.
They've got 3 games against the bottom of the East as well, the Panthers, the Devils, and the Leafs to end the season. So that's 6 points right there. That's completely in the realm of possibility for them. I think the Sens team has been interesting because I feel like they've been really good all year, and it's been overshadowed by how bad their goaltending is. Yeah. That's why they're in the position they're in, truthfully. But like some of the underlying numbers for them, like expected goals percentage, they are 3rd behind Colorado and Carolina. Goals for at 5-on-5, they're in the top 10. Expected goals for at 5-on-5, they're in the top 10. Expected goals against at 5-on-5, they're actually 1st in the league. And they've given up a ton of goals at 5-on-5, which has kind of killed them and sunk them. So I think this Sens team is really good. They're going to give whoever they play in the first round a ton of trouble if the goaltending is up to snub. They absolutely
could win that series.
They very well could be Carolina, and they just gave Carolina a pretty good... well, they won, but yeah, it's... Man, they
could play Buffalo, they could play Buffalo or Montreal or whoever it is, and that's a winnable series for them.
They might have 3 30-goal scorers by the end of the season with Cousins, who's had a great season for them. Yeah. Batherson, and then Tim Stützle, friend of the program as well.
Had a sick goal the other day. That breakaway goal was
unbelievable goal for them, and he's been just dynamite for this team all season long, averaging better than a point per game when they've needed him most. In his last 18, he's got 16 points. So he's been awesome, but the goaltending I think has been the biggest thing for this team, and it's good to see the goaltending kind of come through when they've needed it most because it just seemed to be the missing piece, and that's what they gave up all those assets to get was that missing piece. So happy to see for a lot of different reasons, and I'll just shout out Allmark here, 8-4-1 in his last 13 games. So they've been getting some better goaltending, and it's helping. They're in a wild card spot. So you guys don't believe in Philly. I've got Philly in. That's the last one.
It's not I don't believe in Philly.
Sorry, you don't think they're going to get in. It's not that you don't believe in them.
Truthfully, I think I'm just kind of a little more hopeful that the Islanders can do it, and I think that I see what happened with Torts, and I'm like I could see this also potentially happening with the Islanders. Maybe that's also wishful thinking. But at the same time, Philly's been playing some great hockey. They've got a game in hand. And I think Porter Martone has added a nice little spark for them. And just seems like the vibes are really high in Philly right now. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I wouldn't be surprised at all if they got that last spot. But
tough schedule for them. They've got the Devils, but and the Red Wings, so like massive games there, and then they've got the Jets, Habs, and Hurricanes. So not an easy one, but quietly they've been one of the best kind of defensive teams in hockey this year, and fourth in the league in expected goals against at 5-on-5. So they've been, maybe they don't have like the studs in net that are winning them these games, and maybe they don't score a lot, but Vladar has been really good.
Yeah,
I think anyone can say they didn't expect this season from him, and they're winning when it matters most right now, which is not anything any other Eastern Conference team can say. Like, Puck, you said it. The East has been waiting for a team to just kind of take this wild card spot by the horns, and they've won 7 of their last 10 games. So
maybe I'm just a little bitter because they have 9 shootout wins on the season. I'm just kind of like, I think they only have 24 regulation wins.
that's why you go get
which
Zegers,
is kind
right?
of like,
I want to ask the people,
if the Kings weren't around, maybe we'd all be like, Philly, what the, like, I don't know. But you know what? At the same time, they have 90 points. There's 5 games left. I think in past years, we kind of say the magic numbers like 96, 97 points.
Right
Like, that's
there.
very makeable to get into the playoffs and not be seen as some, like, oh, how the heck did this team win or get in the playoffs? It's just an off year for the league. It's been very competitive. I think Philly, you got to give them a little credit because they feel like they're maybe a little bit above schedule in their rebuild, even though players like Michkov, who were kind of seen as like, this is going to be their star, hasn't necessarily been a dream season for him. But
It's kind of turning it on lately. 10 points in his last 11 games, so that's been a nice bump.
how about Trevor Zegras? He's been awesome. And I want to say, too, do our listeners think, do you think that the NHL should change its point format? Do you think that it should be 2 point or
Three,
three
two,
points
one?
for regulation win? Or how would it work?
3 points for a regulation win, 2 points
That's
for
how
an overtime
PWHL
win.
does it.
Yeah.
1 point for an overtime loss, and obviously 0 for a loss.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it should, but
And I think that that's something to look at in the future, especially given how many, like, it's insane to think.
I think I'm going to put together, maybe, I'm sure someone's done this online. If not, I feel like I'm going to look at this after. What the standings would look like if that was our point.
if that was the point,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
It'd be interesting to see for sure. Porter Martone, we can't say enough about him either. Step into this role in a playoff race, 3 points in your first 4 games, playing on the second line, 16 minutes a night. Like, holy heck, that is a lot of responsibility. And playing ahead of a guy like Michkov in the lineup. Like,
I'm going to say something about Porter Martone. Okay? I remember seeing Porter Martone at the Top Prospects game, not this past year, but the year before. And you could see he had the frame, but he was slim, right? Like you could see like this guy needs to fill out a bit if he wants to be an NHL player. I saw him at the World Juniors. This guy put on so much muscle. I couldn't believe it. He was enormous, like so strong, thick. Like it's not a surprise to me right now that he's in the NHL. Like physically, he is there right now. I think I saw something where he put on like 20 pounds of muscle this year at Michigan State. So, I don't know. It's very clear that Porter Martone has been putting the work in, and it's no wonder that he's already having success because he's built like an absolute truck.
I made a trip to Peterborough Golf and Country Club this past summer, and I sliced my drive on the very first hole. And the fairway beside, I went to go get my ball, chipping onto the green. Porter Martone. Story has nothing to do with him putting on any size.
Just dialed it up.
But he was
5 feet within the pin.
He looked focused on the golf course, and with what I saw on the golf course, I said if he can just take that and put it on the ice, it's going to be a good NHL player.
And if you want to get to know Porter a little better, we did 94 questions with Porter Martone, and literally all of his answers had to do with hockey. So this guy just loves
very dialed into the game for sure.
He loves the game.
Very dialed into the game for sure. It's interesting because like the Flyers and Islanders race in this is funny too, because one team kind of sold at the deadline, didn't make any additions, kind of just was like, hey, if we get him, we get him. We're having a nice season. They've blown away everyone's expectations. The Islanders, it feels like there's a lot more pressure on them, given obviously you fire your head coach, but Braden Shen, that addition hasn't really worked out. But
he's been okay for them.
Been okay.
He hasn't been that bad.
I don't think he's been great, but
what's his point? What does he have? Like 7 points in 12 games or something?
I just don't think what they gave up and the impact they were hoping for him has kind of matched. And it's like 10 points in 15 games. But again, I just don't think he's been He's been outstanding. So, but they went all in. Like they've made a lot of moves to make the playoffs, and so where that puts both franchises will be very interesting to see when it's all said and done.
Maybe there is something to be said too about like
Flyers are playing free hockey right now.
Or maybe the Islanders just like want to surround some of their young guys with some vets, like just some good leaders. I don't know. I know maybe there's not that much value in that. Maybe there is some value in that. So
I think there's probably value going into next season for it. But I will say, like it's one of those things where you're also now putting more kind of stopgaps in place for potential young players to play in the lineup, where like it was a lot easier for the Islanders to say, hey, or the Flyers rather to say, hey, Porter Martone, like you're going to be on the second line right away. Where like for Cole Yzerman, for example, where does he fit into the lineup next year? Talent-wise, I'd love to see him get a crack, but maybe he starts lower in the lineup earlier in the year because you have so many contracts tied up to these veteran players. And so just from a team-building perspective, that's pretty interesting. So to recap for one final time, in the Western Conference, Puck has the Sharks taking the last wildcard spot. Jesse has the Jets. Woo! I have the LA Kings. And in the East, we've got the Sens taking the last wildcard spot, and you guys have the Islanders in third in the Metro, which would put them against the Penguins. I have the Flyers in third in the Metro, which would put them against the Penguins.
I think like my heart kind of says Jets and Isles, but like I think like in terms of logic, I think the Kings and the Flyers make the most sense. But hey, we'll see.
There's a lot of hockey to be played between now and then. Let us know in the comments who you guys have as your final playoff teams. That's a very wholesome message. Thanks for watching,
everyone.
We'll be back next week with some more pre-playoff content, including top 25 players in the playoffs, or the 25 most important players in the playoffs. So that's going to be a fun one. We always love kind of doing those rankings. And we're going to rank every team going into the playoffs as well. So that's always a fun one. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the playoff hunt.